Hello, and thank you for watching this March 23rd weather update, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I am one of the senior atmospheric scientists and co-founders of Agrible. While much of the country has remained dry over the past few days, Sunday and Monday brought yet another round of wet weather to the southeast. This latest low-pressure system has removed any thought of lingering drought conditions, and as we will see throughout this video, the repeated wet weather in the southeast has set this region up to be susceptible to flooding in the coming weeks. Turning our attention to the north-central United States, we can see an area of precipitation in Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois that has formed between a weak low-pressure center in northern Missouri and a stronger high northeast of the Great Lakes. For many residents in this region, the warmer weather over the past 2 weeks probably had some believing spring was here, but most of this precipitation has been falling as snow, with some locations receiving several inches in the last 24 hours. The precipitation in this area, though, is quite welcome, as the last several weeks have been drier than normal. Here we are looking at the last 14 days of accumulated precipitation. Notice how much of the northern parts of the Corn Belt have been dry, while in areas stretching from Texas through the mid-Mississippi and Ohio River valleys have been quite wet, with over 300% of normal precipitation falling in some of these areas in the last 2 weeks. The good news is that the forecast models have performed quite well in this region, which gives us a lot of confidence looking forward. The bad news is that the drought in California and Nevada continues to worsen, as does the western mountain snowpack, especially west of the Continental Divide. We'll have more on this in a few minutes. In the short term, there is a threat for the first round of severe weather early this week in the Midwest. The panel in the upper right-hand corner shows the severe weather reports for 2015. So far, this year has been one of the quietest years on record in terms of severe weather, and each of the surrounding plots show you how 2015 stacks up to normal. First, the tornado count is far below normal at just 28, while the last 10 years have had on average 190 tornadoes at this point in the season. Hail reports are also at historic lows, with only 10 reports so far, while nearly 400 is common by the end of March. Finally, wind reports are just a fraction of normal too. Given the slow start to the severe weather season, we need to really start watching the Great Plains as the weather patterns shift toward more favorable severe weather conditions in the coming weeks. Here we can see the Storm Prediction Center's convective outlook maps for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Tuesday, significant southerly flow at the surface introduces high dew point air into eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri, which aids in destabilizing the atmosphere in this region. Combined with the return of warm, humid air, wind shear in the lowest 2 miles of the atmosphere will be adequate to allow some of the storms to reach their severe limits. Keep a close eye on your local radar Tuesday and Wednesday for the potential of strong to severe thunderstorms in this part of the world. At this point, the greatest threat is going to be from severe winds and hail, but there is the potential for an isolated tornado. Again, keep a close eye on the radar if you live in the regions highlighted here in the coming days. Beyond this week, we can see that the 6 to 10 day temperature forecast remains locked in the pattern we've now seen for nearly 2 months. Record warmth out west, while the east remains in winter's icy grip. Here's an animation of the next 7 days of precipitation. As the chance for severe weather across the central United States pushes east, so does the threat for more rain across the already saturated mid-Mississippi and Ohio River valleys. Thankfully, the Pacific Northwest gets another round of Pacific moisture to help build their snow supply in the Cascade and Olympian Mountains, which, as we've seen, are woefully below average for this time of year. While the drought in the coastal Northwest has improved, Oregon, California, and Nevada have remained and will likely remain dry for some time. Combined with the lack of snowfall in the mountains west of the Continental Divide, like we discussed in the last video, this region is in for a tough spring and summer. However, I want to turn your attention to the developing drought in the north-central United States. Over the past month, this region has seen less than normal precipitation, and a large section of the northern Corn Belt is now in moderate drought. Here's the seasonal outlook for drought through the end of June. NOAA is forecasting the persistence and intensification of the drought in Minnesota. We have discovered that when the Pacific Ocean sea surface temperature anomalies are developing the way they are right now, this region is often drier than normal. As we have updated in past videos, the positive phase of the Pacific Decadal Oscillation and the developing El Nino correlate well with dry conditions to start the growing season in the northern parts of the Corn Belt. We need to watch this area very closely as planting begins. On the other hand, NOAA's spring flood risk map clearly shows the mid-Mississippi and Ohio River valleys are at risk for flooding due to the repeated precipitation events that have hit this area in the last 2 months, along with the melting snow in some regions. The Northeast is also susceptible to flood as the record snowfall this winter melts and spring rains arrive. To finish, let's take a look out for the next 3 months. NOAA's forecast reflects the developing El Nino and positive Pacific Decadal Oscillation phase in the Pacific, with warmer than normal temperatures out west and wetter than normal conditions along the southern states. Again, we can see how Minnesota and the surrounding states are forecast to remain drier than average as the 2015 planting season begins. We will watch this region very closely, as a dry start to the growing season could impact yields in this region. As always, we at Agrible will bring you the latest and best weather information through our morning farm report so that you can efficiently plan your operations. We thank you for your attention and we hope you look forward to our next weather update. Thank you.